welcome back. My name is Danielle with Cookies and Bacon, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 different canned biscuit recipes. These are going to be fast and easy recipes. Hopefully they're recipes that you've never made before. Go ahead and grab your apron and let's get started. To start us off, I'm going to be making these beef and potato hand pies. So I'm going to need 1 pound of ground beef, and I'm just going to ground it up until it is fully cooked through, and then you can drain the grease. This type of hamburger beef that I have doesn't have a lot of fat on it, so I don't really drain any of the grease on it. And then I'm going to add in 3 cloves of garlic, and then 1 teaspoon of cumin, 2 teaspoons of seasoning salt, and a tablespoon of paprika. And I'm just going to mix that together until it's well combined. Now I'm going to add in my frozen potatoes. I just use this Southern style frozen bag of frozen potatoes. You can probably use any type of frozen potatoes that you want. This is just what I chose. And I'm just going to kind of cook it maybe for about 3 to 4 minutes, just until it's nice and tender. And then I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And then I'm going to combine that all together, and then we should be ready to start making our pies. If you've seen any of my videos before, you know that I'm kind of known for making a mess while I'm cooking. That's just kind of how I am. I don't know. I hope you can pardon my mess, but yes, I ended up making a pretty big mess with this skillet. It was kind of hard to stir in the tomato paste, so maybe use a bigger pan than what I used. I don't know. It's always trial and error when you're cooking. Now that my potatoes are cooked through, I'm going to take it off the stove, and I'm going to add in my cheese. So I'm going to add in a cup of, I used this Colby Jack cheddar cheese, and then I just stirred that through. And then I'm going to need 2 eggs in a separate dish, and I'm just going to mix that together, and that's just going to be the topping for my pies, just to give it a nice crusty flavor on top, and to give it that nice shiny look. It adds a really good texture when you're cooking with like a pastry dough, any type of dough. It just adds such a good flavor on top. You're going to use about 2 to 3 cans of biscuits, so it just really depends on how much filling that you put in each one. This recipe called for 3, but I ended up only needing 2 of these biscuits. I kind of filled mine pretty full. I didn't want too much biscuit, I guess. My husband's big on, not a lot of bread. So I just filled all of these with, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 cup each that I did. And I do have my kids helping me make these. My daughter's in the background, and she's kind of helping me roll out the dough as well to make it go faster. She's always a good helper. And now I'm going to go ahead and use that egg wash and go ahead and put that on top of my little pies here. You can make these pies however you want. This is just the design that I did. Some of you, I'm sure, are more experienced than I am, and so you can do whatever you want. This is just how I did them. And then I'm going to go ahead and put these in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 minutes, just until it's nice and golden brown on top. This is our first time having these, and we absolutely loved them. There were no leftovers. Okay, this recipe was super simple. It doesn't have very many ingredients at all. I just went ahead and ground up this pound of ground beef, and then I drained out the grease in it. And now I'm just going to add in a cup of barbecue sauce, and then I add in about 2 tablespoons of this minced onion, and I'm just going to give that a good stir. And then once it's all combined, I'm just going to use my biscuit dough to make some cups with my my cupcake pan, and I just line these with my to make kind of like cupcakes in a way, but they almost remind me of maybe like a sloppy Joe, something like that. But they were really good. I've never had them before, something new I tried, and they were pretty good. My kids did enjoy them. So you're gonna need 2 of these junior biscuits. They are 10 to a can, so these are going to end up making about 20. So you don't want to fill these all the way to the top in order to get 20 out of here. I think some of mine were a little bit more full, so I think I only made 16 of them and had I just used 4 biscuits just to make some regular biscuits with it. But I'm just going to fill these, and then I'm going to put some cheddar cheese on top of it, and then I'm going to put it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 minutes. All right, and here's what they look like when they're all done. These were a really good idea for some lunches, for my kids' lunches. So I really did enjoy these. Next, I'm going to be making a bubble up pizza. So I don't know if you've made these or any type of bubble up before, but they're super simple. So you're going to need 2 cans of biscuit dough, and you're basically just going to chop these up until into smaller pieces. You can do even smaller than this. I think if I were to do this recipe again, I would do even smaller pieces, 9 to 12 pieces per biscuit. And then I'm going to add in about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese and a cup of mozzarella cheese. And then I'm going to mix in 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, and then 2 cups of marinara sauce or pizza sauce, whichever you want to do is fine there. And then you're just going to mix it up until everything's well combined. And then we're going to put it in a 9x13 pan and put it in the oven. I think I almost forgot the most important ingredient. Of course, we need our meat in there. So we have some pepperoni, and you can put whatever toppings you want. So if you want to put some sausage in here, some Canadian bacon, whatever type of toppings that you want, if you want some green onions, some black olives, whatever you want. I just made this a super simple meal especially for my kids. Friday nights are pizza nights, so this is what we had Friday night. And then once you have all your meats and toppings in there, you're just going to give it a good stir, and then we'll put it in our pan. put this in the oven at 350 for about 40 minutes, just until the middle was completely done. I poked it a couple of times just to double check to make sure everything was cooked through. There's nothing worse than raw biscuit dough. That is disgusting. So you definitely want to make sure it's cooked through, and this is what it looked like, and it was really good. We really enjoyed it. Next is going to be this enchilada bubble up bake, and out of all the recipes in this video, this one was my favorite. It just tasted just like an enchilada, so I really enjoyed it. You're going to need 2 cans of this biscuit dough. You can use whatever type of biscuit dough you want. This is just what we chose, and I chopped these up into 9 pieces per biscuit. You can actually, if I were to do this again, I probably would do smaller pieces as well, maybe 12 pieces each, just to make them smaller. But either way, it's totally fine. And then I went ahead and add in this enchilada sauce. So Old El Paso is probably my favorite type of enchilada sauce. And I just mixed that in a bowl together. And now I'm going to put it in this 9x13 pan. So of course I greased my pan first, and then add in my biscuits that we chopped up. And then I'm going to set that to the side, and then in a pan, I'm going to go ahead and grind up a pound of hamburger beef. And then I have some peppers that I wanted to use up that I had in my garden. So I was just putting in some jalapeno peppers. You don't have to, it just adds some extra flavor. And I'm just going to put in some taco seasoning after this is done cooking through. And then we're going to add in 1 can of green chilies as well, just a 4-ounce can of green chilies. And you're just going to mix that through. Now that everything's well combined, I'm just going to pour that on top of my 9x13 pan with my biscuits. And I'm going to pour that on top, make sure everything's nice and even. And then I'm going to put probably about a cup of cheese on top. You can use whatever type of cheese. You can use cheddar, pepper jack, Colby jack, whatever you want to do. I use about in between 1 to 1.5 cups of cheese. You can't really put too much cheese on this. Cheese is life. I love cheese. So whatever your little heart desires, that's how much cheese you need to put on it. And then once you're done with the cheese, you're going to put this in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes, just till all the biscuits are done cooking at the bottom. And when it's done cooking, this is what it's going to look like. It was so delicious. I topped ours with some sour cream. You can do cilantro, some salsa. I put some chips on the side as well. Maybe even some tomatoes would have been delicious. So this was a hit. Now we're going to be making this chicken pot pie. And this is going to be a crock pot meal actually as well. So it's going to be super easy. So you're going to need 1 onion and about 3 small potatoes or 1 big potato. And you just chop them up. And then in our crock pot, we're going to go ahead and grease our crock pot. And we're going to put in 3 chicken breasts at the very bottom there. And then we're going to add in our onions and potatoes. And once that's added, then we're going to put that to the side, and we're going to start on our cream of soup mixture. In a medium mixing bowl, I'm just going to go ahead and put in a cup of chicken broth. This chicken broth I just made myself. I have like a packet of the bouillon cubes basically, and I put in 1 cup of water with it. And then you're going to need 1 can of cream of chicken soup and 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. And then we're also going to add in 1 tablespoon of parsley, and then 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper. And we're going to mix that all together. Once that's well combined, I'm going to pour that on top of my potatoes and chicken that I have in my crock pot. Make sure to get all of the excess into the crock pot. And then I'm going to let this cook on low for about 7 hours. You can also cook this on high for about 4 hours if you want to. And then we will look at it after 7 hours. Okay, so it's been about 6 hours, and now I'm just going to go ahead and put in my mixed veggies. And then I'm going to let this cook for about an hour, and then I'm going to shred my chicken, and it should be ready. And here's the final product. I like to take my biscuit and just kind of shred it and put it on top of everything. And this was super delicious. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do enjoy this video, if you would consider subscribing, that would be awesome. And I will see you in the next video.